Welcome to the Amazon Legends podcast, where we have real stories about making it big on Amazon. Our guests are CEOs of large companies and entrepreneurs who became powerful sellers, also experts specializing in helping sellers, and both former and current Amazon employees who will give us an insight from behind the scenes. Here's your host, Nick Urison.
Welcome to another episode of Amazon Legends. And my next guest today is someone that I've been trying to bring on the show for a while. And you're going to love listening to her. So she's the founder and CEO of Private Label Mastery with over 15,000 private label products. She's also the host of the Private Label Mastery podcast, author of $1 Million E-com Secrets. And without further ado, it's my privilege to say hello to my friend Ashley Kinkead. Welcome to the show, Ashley.
Thank you, Nick. It's such an honor to be here, and I'm so excited to share my story and hopefully teach your listeners and help them get insight into this amazing world of Amazon.
So Ashley has a unique method for launching products, and she usually keeps it a secret, but I pressured her to share it with us. So Ashley, tell us what your secret is.
Well, there's so much going on in Amazon in 2022. I think you really today, Nick, have to have a strategy that's a bit more refined than, several years ago when I started doing private label. So essentially, our strategy is called the 3x2 method, and we have used it to now launch about 15,000 private label products on Amazon. And it allows us to enter the market with more of a testing strategy with new products today. So many new sellers, Nick, I'm sure you know as well, in the Amazon industry are trying to launch really large quantities of products and not doing as well as they hoped. So we have begun testing multiple SKUs in smaller quantities, getting them on the Amazon marketplace and collecting data. Because for us, the most important thing in our business is data and measurables so that we know if we put a product on Amazon, how it's doing, how it's selling, and then we can decide to scale or restock it. I know at your company, you guys are experts at that as well, but I think data is really the most important asset you can have as an Amazon seller. So we like to test in small quantities. Again, we call that the 3x2 method. So if someone's out there and wanting to sell on Amazon, they're going to want to launch 3 products at once, move forward with 2 winners, and then scale the winning 2. So we have found that to be our current method for how we launch products in 2022.
So 3x2, you said so many things that they all are part of my language. I just want to dig into it further and dissect it. So 3x2 means 3 unique SKUs. You launch 3 unique SKUs, and then you pick the top 2 out of the 3, and then you scale those. Now,
right.
Those unique SKUs, are they the variations of one parent SKU or 3 actually standalone listings?
3 standalone SKUs. 3 standalone SKUs typically. So we look for 3 different opportunities on Amazon. We enter the market. We test in small quantities, typically between 100 and 500 units for an initial test order. And then we move forward with the product that has the most consistency and sales velocity over a 30-day period. So it allows us to basically have 3 chances to win, 3 chances to hit a home run. Instead of just putting all of our eggs in one basket, we like to test over multiple completely different SKUs.
So that obviously has budget consequences, right? Because you have to spend the same amount of budget. So can you share with us some benchmarks in terms of what kind of a budget you allow and what is the best way for you to drive the initial exposure to those 3 unique SKUs?
We typically like to be pretty conservative with our new clients' product launches and our product launches as well. So $3,000 to $5,000. I see a lot of people saying, you have to have $15,000 or $25,000 to launch a new private label product on Amazon in 2022, which just isn't the case. So we typically budget about $3,000 to $5,000 per product that we launch on Amazon. So that's kind of the going range. And as far as getting an exposure, we just really focus on finding those markets where we don't have to spend a lot on pay-per-click. We don't have to compete with thousands of other sellers. to get our product visibility, we look for those opportunities where we can get on page one pretty effectively without a lot of, reviews or a lot of pay-per-click or a lot of, ranking algorithm. So I think it's really important, the first initial part of product selection, just getting the product selection right. And we try to not pick products that are too competitive, Nick, under 1,000 BSR, too many sellers. We like to pick those opportunities that are a little off the grid. Even looking for opportunities right now, we're really focusing on looking for products that aren't even on Amazon and people are shopping for them and can't find those products. We try to fill those gaps, find those unique opportunities to make products a little bit different, to make them completely new, or literally just to find the thousands of products that people are shopping for right now, the keywords that aren't on Amazon.
So going back to the 3x2. So as you know, you're competing for keywords. So, I heard this a while ago, and it's so true. Amazon is not a marketplace of products. It's a marketplace of keywords. You just associate the product with it. So sometimes you have some keywords that have less than 100, if any, sellers. And for the same product, sometimes you have keywords that have over 10,000 sellers. So it's like just picking the right keyword and then running with it. So I'm a little bit curious about how you feel on variations. So why is it that you just have a standalone listing? You may still launch 3 unique ones, but why not add variations under each one of those unique ones? So now at least you're creating more options per SKU and increase the chances of success.
Well, one of the problems with variation, we don't have a lot of data on each variation, how much is actually selling. We get more data on just the main listing. When there's different colors and things like that, we're not able to collect data on which variation is necessarily the best selling rank. So we do a lot of variations, absolutely. Once we see a main SKU is selling, we will begin to add variations based on customer feedback, reviews, looking at our competitors, what they're offering. But absolutely, if you're a seller out there and you've got a great selling product, by all means, look at ways to add variations, look at ways to add accessories, look at ways to add complementary products that go with that product. That's really the long game for us with our brands, is finding those opportunities to make variations, to add accessories, and to add complementary products.
Okay. So that brings me to my next one, which is my favorite area. It's about data. So you mentioned that data is everything. So what data are you looking at? Where do you get that data? And how do you use it?
Absolutely. So data is very important for us. We love certain tools like Helium 10, and obviously those tools make our job a lot easier as Amazon sellers to be able to collect as much data through the API as we can. We also have our own product research tool in Private Label Mastery that we use privately with our clients, specifically for private label product research. It is proprietary to our team. But essentially, we're looking at a couple things. We love to see just sales consistency over time. So I like to personally track a product, Nick, for about 7 days to see daily sales velocity. I'd rather sell a product that's selling 5 units a day every day than selling 15 units on Monday, no sales for a couple days, and then 5 sales on the last day. So it's not so much about the overall numbers, but just the daily consistency on Amazon. That's what we're looking for. As well as obviously not too many reviews. We don't like to enter really saturated markets. So for me, under 1,000 reviews on the top 5 SKUs for that keyword is really important as well. So there's a lot of data we look at. The most important thing is definitely just that daily sales velocity, that consistency over time. And I also like to see spread. I like to see a lot of sellers doing well for a product. So if I just see one seller, maybe just selling the product, that doesn't give me enough data. I like to see at least 5, 10, 15 sellers selling in that niche. And then it gives me the confidence that I can jump in and just basically add to the market and make money.
So you actually like the competition in that same space?
Yes, I've had a couple products on Amazon where I was kind of the entry leader, the new one. But typically we like to see existing sales. It's just so much easier to go in. If someone's already set that foundation and shown us that the product can sell, we can sell it as well.
So I have a favorite data point. And I was curious to see if you're going to mention it, but I didn't hear it. You know what that is?
What's that?
Conversion rate.
Conversion rate. Absolutely. It's a very important one as well. We want to see that if someone's clicking a listing, that it's actually converting to a sale. Absolutely.
Yeah. So because that's everything, right?
Mhm.
It affects your top line, it affects your bottom line. Most important, everybody talks about the Amazon algorithms. There's all kinds of algorithms, but as far as deciding what comes up on page one, they call it the A9 algorithm, right? So the reason why it's A9 algorithm is because there are 9 factors that they are looking at. And one of the key ones that Amazon wants is, are people searching this product, doing a search under this keyword? Are they finding this product, and then are they buying? Because that's the ultimate success. And of course, buying decision is influenced by reviews, sellers' ratings, the price, and everything else. It already assumes that all that was good. So conversion is the real driver. But yeah, there is no data available that reports that conversion on daily basis, at least because things are changing daily, unless you do it manually day after day, every day, and then you have to know how to use it, right?
Correct. It's a difficult number to track, but it's so important. In online marketing, if a product isn't converting, then it's not a good product. So I so agree with you, Nick. You have to look at the conversion rate. Roughly, we like to see at least a 10 to 20%, conversion, meaning if someone's actually clicking that product on Amazon, that someone is actually purchasing it. It's actually a good listing. It's something that we want to imitate, something that we want to learn from. So I agree.
I'm very, I'm told that I have very high standards. I should say, I'm told I have very high expectations. But if you're going to make it in this world, you have to aim high. Otherwise, you're going to be mediocre. Nobody wins by being mediocre, right? So I tell my clients, look, you guys, you have to have 35% conversion. That's your benchmark. That means 1 out of 3 people landing on your page because you are the only seller. And by the way, they lose the conversion because sometimes they are not in the buy box. You've also noticed that, right?
Yes.
Well, how is that possible? They don't even know. We look at by the way, that's another data point. We check buy box retention rate. So how long have they been in the buy box? Somebody who's launching a private seller, they should be in the buy box 100% of the time. And they think they are, but they are not. So have you ever noticed that?
Absolutely. You have to be in the buy box. And that is why we are so adamant on owning your listing, getting brand registry, having patents, having things that allow you to have the buy box. The buy box is key. It is absolutely key, for success on Amazon. Every day I talk to Amazon sellers who don't have the buy box and they wonder why their sales are nothing or they're not growing. So over the years, it's been so interesting just to look at the buy box and how it has become crucial to success on Amazon. I remember a day, 5 or 6 years ago as an Amazon seller where you didn't have to have the buy box and you could get sales. I just don't see how today in this competitive marketplace, you could get sales not having the buy box. It's really key.
Yeah. Can you share with us some examples of why somebody would lose the buy box, even though they are a private seller?
Sure. Not being price competitive, if your product is just outrageously outranked, price wise compared to what else is on the marketplace. If you don't have a well optimized listing, we've seen sellers lose the buy box over things like that. Their keywords not being terms of service, their titles not being terms of service, their photos not being terms of service. So those are primarily the 2 reasons why you would lose the buy box, not being price competitive, as well as obviously let other sellers who can piggyback or jump on your listing as well. So we really take a lot of care with ourselves and our clients of making sure that we do this best as possible to get every product in the buy box. Yeah. Because we know that is, I don't know about you, but when I shop on Amazon, I don't see, if it's not in the buy box, I'm not purchasing it.
No,
so
you can't see the seller.
You can't see it.
So there's an interesting trend kind of developing. We're noticing this. And I didn't actually know, the first time I saw it, I didn't know what was causing it. But now I know. So there are, first of all, the scenarios you're talking about are absolutely the case, because if they're not meeting the Amazon requirements with their title, their bullets, or whatever, their picture, Amazon will not even show it. So then you are out of the picture completely.
Correct.
What I'm finding is there are two scenarios. One of them is fairly frequent. So let's say that you are selling your listing, and then you also sell on Walmart, you sell on your website, you sell on other marketplaces. And Amazon is tracking your price on those marketplaces. And if
Yes.
your price on those marketplaces are lower than your Amazon price, even though you are the only seller and everything you do is right, they won't show you in the buy box. They will, in fact, put a little link and say available from these sellers. And then when you click on it, it's going to simply open up a very unattractive small box, show your name there with add to cart, but nobody goes there. So
Correct.
if you reduce your price on other websites and then you are on Amazon higher, then you're going to lose the buy box. That's one. The other circumstance that we found is, as you know, people buy and then return. When it's returned, sometimes products get damaged. So Amazon pays the seller for the merchandise. So they end up eating it. So now Amazon ends up selling it on the same listing as Amazon warehouse. So they become another seller. Well, good luck getting them out. They're not going to get them out. So now you lose the buy box. You are competing. So how do you deal with that situation? You know what advice I give everybody? Buy it, because it's only limited quantity. Because you're going to get the product anyway. It's yours. At least you get the buy box back and you can resell it.
We do that a lot too. I mean, that's one strategy to get the buy box back. Absolutely.
Yeah. So all these new things. So how do you keep up with all these new changes?
It's a lot. I think it changes so much. Amazon changes a lot more today than it did back when I started in 2015. So we just really keep ourselves in community. I think Amazon sellers are powerful together. So we have a whole community of Amazon sellers, and every day we are working together, taking note of what Amazon is doing, monitoring thousands of product listings inside of our clients' accounts. And just that collectiveness of the body of people selling on Amazon allows us to see things like in real time when things change or even before they change. So we have account contacts at Amazon that we touch base with about things that are changing. But I think it's important just to keep yourself in community, as an Amazon seller, with experts, with people that do this every day, because you don't want to be the last person to find out about changes or rules. You want to really just be on top of it, I think, as Amazon changes.
Yeah, I mean, the power of one it doesn't compare to power of many. So yes. So let's take a step back now. Let's look at the big picture. So what do you see as the biggest opportunity Amazon presents today, given the post-COVID and all the changes?
Well, it's an exciting time. I think it's a really exciting time to be an Amazon seller. I've always said that, but we're really still at the cusp of e-commerce, I feel. There's still so much opportunity for a new person to come in, a new person to innovate. So with COVID, more and more people are still continuing to shop on Amazon and discovering Amazon and needing Amazon. So with gas prices, people don't want to go out and drive and buy things. They want to stay home. So there's just a lot of opportunities for me, the biggest opportunity we're seeing right now is just completely new products to the Amazon marketplace, products that aren't even on the Amazon marketplace, and finding those little pockets of opportunity to be a leader in the space. So that's where we're really focusing on with our own businesses and our clients, is the new products, the products that aren't on Amazon, the products that are on Amazon but need improvement. Those kinds of opportunities, I think, is where an Amazon seller, like if you're new to private label in 2022, you really should put your focuses on. It's not as simple as just selling the same item as 5,000 other sellers and, getting rich overnight. You really have to have a bit of a higher level approach to things in private label mastery. That's what we do every day with our students. So I think it's important to, have a private label product. Think about the long game. I'm sure with you, Nick, you're seeing a lot of exit offers and aggregation offers and things like that. So we really focus on thinking long-term with our brands. How can we sell this? How can we take this to other marketplaces? How can we create a contacts list? How can we create assets around this brand. So I think that's really the long-term play, is thinking about how can I create something that 3 to 5 years from now is going to have a legacy. It's going to be a legacy product, not just something to sell on Amazon and make some money, but actually like creating something impactful that's a product.
So how do you find a product that's not on Amazon? So where does that, what kind of a research do you do? Share with us some of your methodologies.
Sure. I think, and again, it just comes back to that collective aspect. We have thousands of clients and accounts we manage at Private Label Mastery. And so we have so much data housed, and we're able to see every single day those opportunities. It can be as simple as going on Amazon and searching for a product. I shop on Amazon all day myself. And if I want something, I will go on Amazon.com and search for it. And I'm amazed just from that top level, what's not there, just simple keywords, simple needs or problems that you have. So I just encourage people to give that a try. If you're shopping for something, go on Amazon. If you're not happy with what you see, that's an opportunity for an entrepreneur to step in and create something or to make it better. So just seeing those opportunities on Amazon.com. Also in our, in our software, our product research tool we're able to really dig into those opportunities as well, find those kind of hidden gap, golden keywords using the data from Amazon. So it's as simple as just a way of thinking, finding those little opportunities, looking at what's on page 1, page 2, page 3. And if you're not happy with what you see, if the experience isn't there for the customer, then you should step in and bring something new to the marketplace. I think that's the opportunity.
And what is a good price point to launch on Amazon for your product?
We typically try to stay around $25 average selling price. Now, we have got lots of clients that are selling $100 products or even the super high-end type of market of products. For us, we found it's easiest for a new person to stick somewhere around $25 to $35. That'll just kind of protect your profit margin. We're not really too much into the super low ticket space, although we do have some clients with really cheap products that move a lot of volume. It really just depends on, the goals that you have as a business owner, how much revenue you want to make, how many products you want to have. My average selling price is about $27, for the products in my store.
And what kind of margins do you look for in that?
30 to 40% net typically is what we strive for. I've got some clients who are really happy with 20 or 25%. That's still pretty decent. But 30 to 40%, even closer to 50%, it really just depends on the fees, depends on your cost of goods, your shipping. Shipping costs are going up. So we are really focusing on just, selling those higher priced products to cover those shipping costs, because inflation has been affecting a lot of sellers, a lot of clients, just cost of goods and everything is going up.
Transportation,
shipping costs are all affecting the bottom line. So
let's, this margin calculations, they all come down to definition. So 27, let's call it $30. So you are selling a $30 product. When you say net margin of 30 to 40%, so for that $30 product, how much are you paying to your supplier landed cost? What would you like to see?
Somewhere around 1/3. So around $10 would be the landed cost for us to get it to Amazon. So roughly rule of thirds, a third of that is our landed cost. A third of that goes to our Amazon fees and our supplies. And a third of that we like to keep as kind of a net margin on the sales. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that means that your shipping cost needs to be around 15%, since you pay 15% to Amazon. So that leaves you 30% net.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And that also, another requirement for finding the product is, if you're shipping bulky stuff, then obviously it's not going to be in that 15% range. It's going to be much more expensive, right?
Right. And typically, when we start off launching a product, not me so much these days, but we'll start smaller, air shipping, smaller quantities to get the product into Amazon. But right, as you start to grow and get into the bulk shipping, you really have to make sure that your shipping costs are in line. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges Amazon sellers have right now, is keeping their freight costs down, making sure they're profitable even after the freight's figured in, because we're seeing like 20 to 40% increases in shipping costs across different suppliers. Yeah. So it's really important just to know your numbers and to also to start small and kind of get a feel for your products profits.
Now, the shipping cost that I was referring to is the Amazon's FBA fee.
Yes.
Because, as they have these tiers, and their smallest, they call it standard and oversized. And then you have small standard, large standard. So the small standard used to be around $2 and something.
Correct.
Now it's $3 and something. So those fees have come up. So
yes.
if your item is a larger size item, you're going to be in the larger tier, then you're going to start spending, $4 something. And if you're selling a $30 item, that will creep into the 16, 18, 20% range, right? And especially if it's heavy. So those are the things in the product search they need to look out for.
Yes, and we have to account for that accordingly as well. So a lot of our clients are raising prices on their products to account for those higher fees, figuring out how they can bundle products to, get more net profit for each sale. But yes, the fees have been rising. So we have been taking note of, how we can price ourselves accordingly to just account for that in our businesses. The good news is, a private label seller, you are able to do that. You can raise the price. You can set your own price of your products. So it is something we're definitely looking at and following all the time is those fees to make sure that we're still profitable net.
Yeah. So you really need to have a revenue model as part of your product search, because
yes.
just finding the right product, you may find a great set of keywords and a great product idea, but if it's not going to make you money, it makes no sense, right? So it's a complex operation.
Yes, it's not enough just to find a great product. You have to make sure that it's a product the numbers punch out. And I think that's a lot of times what new people struggle with. Like, what is a good revenue? What is a good profit margin? And so we help people to do that and just make sure that you're making as best of an informed decision as possible, because sometimes a product is really great to sell on Amazon, but it may not be great for you. It may not be great for your budget or your expectations of what a profit margin should be.
People don't know. I mean, it's unbelievable how much people or how less people know. I had a client a few weeks ago. They came on board and they were very excited to launch their product, the skincare product. And I've got a template that lights up immediately in 3 different lights, red, yellow, and green. Of course, they want green, and for every single cost bucket, and they all lit up red. And I said, guys, have you ever heard the term, it's cheaper not to do business? So that's where you are going to be. We have to set you up for success. So we nix the product. They're not going to sell that because their production basically is too expensive. So then we started looking at like 35 different items. Out of 35, they all came up at best. They scored yellow, which puts them in a like marginal. And then we kind of started working on it. And then you said the magic word, bundling. So that's another way to actually up your order value, average order value, and at the same time offer more, right?
Correct. Bundling is, we do a lot of bundling, a lot of multi-packs, a lot of accessories. So it's a way to just get your product from, say, $10 to $35 or $25. And then you're able to absorb that fee a bit more manageably. So bundles are key. There are so many opportunities right now to bundle, to take a product that's already on Amazon, put it in a 3-pack, put it in a 5-pack, put it in a 10-pack, put it in a multi-pack with different items in the set. That's really, to me, just kind of one of the big opportunities right now for sellers to look for with those raised fees.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm assuming that you favor FBA model, right?
Yes.
Instead of shipping yourself. So
we do 100% FBA. There's very few scenarios where we do merchant fulfillment. A few of our clients' products obviously have to be merchant fulfilled. They can't be stored in the warehouses. But generally, we steer people more and more, even more so, towards FBA. Most of our clients really like lifestyle businesses. They don't want to have a shipping operation or to have a team or to have to ship products. So we typically advise people to focus on FBA. It has so many benefits. Being able to have more of the buy box, being able to scale your business and not have to have a big team. So we really do favor FBA, but I think more and more there can be opportunities to merchant fulfill. You find those opportunities where other sellers maybe don't want to merchant fulfill, and you can fill that gap.
Yeah, I tell my clients also to go for 100% FBA. However, there are some clients, they sell parts, for example, like nothing to do with direct consumer category maybe, but industrial and scientific category tends to be also fairly lucrative for companies that sell accessories and parts for some machines and things like that. So I tell them absolutely go 100% FBA on the smaller ticket items, but list the large ticket items that cost maybe $500 and up as an FBM item. Just make sure that you put what's called fulfillment latency that will give you enough time, because that will be displayed as ships in 3 to 5 days.
Right.
So that way you don't get penalized by Amazon on the late ship rate, because as soon as you go FBM, now you've got a bunch of other metrics that you have to satisfy.
Yes. Yeah. So you really have to be on top of it if you're doing FBM.
Yeah.
I always tell people, that's the thing. That's where people can put their accounts at risk, is they're not on top of their shipping, their fulfillment, getting it out on time. So that's a really smart tip. I appreciate that, Nick. Just being on top of that, and that's shipping expediency for sure.
Yeah, and people don't know this. And you talk about data. So I actually analyzed the order data. So what Amazon does, the minute that you get an order, that particular transaction has another data field that says expected ship date, and it is to the minute. So if you put, as an FBM order, if you put 3 days for shipping and you receive on the 15th at 11:55 p.m., it will give you exactly 3 days to ship by. If you miss that by 1 minute, it's considered late. There is no way around it, because it's calculation. Now, there is one other thing that I don't know if you know this, because when you find this out, it's already too late. You are already hurt. So what happens is, let's say that you ship the data. You ship the packages, and you have automated, at best, you have automated systems, and the shipping data gets submitted. So you think that, okay, everything is going fine. And we're talking FBM, of course. So what Amazon does is, you may have a latest shipment date of 18th, and you ship on the 18th, but something goes wrong. Amazon API times out while the system is submitting the shipping data, and then you come back and submit it on the 19th. They consider it late, because they don't look at what the shipping data says. They look at when the shipping data was submitted, and they consider it late. I've seen with one client, and then as we started digging into it, and we learned that if you look at that final report that Amazon provides, why your late ship rate is so high, they show you this is expected, this is when you submit it, this is the shipment data submission date and time. That's what they take into account.
It's something you have to be so on top of. You really do.
Yeah, and of course, if you're doing this manually, good luck. If you are submitting backdated shipping data, forget it. It's not going anywhere, because when you are submitting is what they're going to work with. So
correct.
So I just say FBM is just not worth it. Just go with FBA and do very sparingly, for high ticket items.
We do some merchant fulfillment during Q4, and we're going out of stock and those kinds of things, but generally no.
Yeah. I heard that too as a best practice.
Yes.
Create an FBA listing and an FBM listing, and if FBA receipts is delayed, then they switch to FBM and fulfill themselves. So.
Yes, that's the way we do it as well, especially during the seasonal periods where we can't keep anything in stock in November and December, and so as kind of a way to keep cash flow going, I think it's important for sellers to know how to merchant fulfill during those busy seasons.
So let's talk a little bit about the team. So what does it take to make a successful operation? What are some roles and responsibilities that you assign somebody with and hold them responsible and then stay on top of?
Well, I am a big fan of learning how to do everything yourself first as an Amazon seller. So often people come to me and want done for you Amazon stores, those kinds of things. I generally don't advise people to do that. I just don't see long-term longevity with those kinds of models ourselves. So I really believe in owning your business, owning your operation, learning how to do everything in your business from sourcing to managing your Amazon account. It's really simple, but learning how to do all the roles yourself. And then once you have profit, once you have a good product in place, start creating SOPs and finding team members to help you. So I can just tell you, Nick, we have folks that we work with, netting 6 figures a month with no employees. They have no team members. They do everything themselves in their Amazon account. So you certainly can build this to a pretty good sized business without having a big team. But once you've got everything down and you've got some standardization, you can certainly start hiring a prep company. That was my first hire when I was an Amazon seller, was a prep company to kind of manage my private label products from the supplier to Amazon. That was my first hire, was a prep company. Second hire was a virtual assistant who helped me source, helped me talk to my suppliers overseas in the Philippines. That's really all you need for a 6-figure a month business. If for some reason you want to bring family into it or hire some local help, I think there's a space for that as well. But the beauty of Amazon to me is not having to have a big team, not having to run a big operation traditionally and being able to be more of a solopreneur and kind of working on your own. But of course, I think there's so many different ways to do it. We have folks who do enjoy having a business partner or do enjoy having an operations manager and those kinds of things. But really, if you're out there and you're just getting started, like learn the ropes, like take the time, get into a program, whether it's ours or someone else's, get into a program just to teach yourself the basics, because that's really going to give you that foundation over the next years to grow from. Because if you don't know how to do it, it can be very difficult to train, to just expect someone to do it. So you want to learn how to do everything yourself.
So what do you say to someone who basically is very good at coming up with a product idea, and he's a good wheeler and dealer, a good salesperson?
Yeah.
But does not like numbers, does not like process, tedious, finds it tedious, frustrating. So what do you say to somebody like that?
I think they need to learn. They need to learn how to run the numbers of their business. I've personally found as a business owner, anytime I've delegated that, I don't like numbers myself. It's not my thing. I'm more into the sourcing and the products and the ideas, the visionary person. But I have got to be responsible for my numbers. At the end of the day, it's my business, and no one cares more about my business than I do. Now, I do have a CPA and CFO who help organize everything for me that way. That's important. But find help. There's so many amazing accountants for Amazon sellers, people that will help you with your numbers. They do this day in and day out. But don't shy from learning the numbers of your business. I think that's important to, as a business owner, as the founder, as the CEO, to have insight into what your business is actually doing. Now, as you grow, you can get people to help you and come on, but don't shy away from really just wearing all the hats for at least 6 months or 12 months. That way you can teach other people and train them how to do it.
And yeah, I mean, I've heard from several people the same approach, where they say, look, you can't say, I don't know how to do this, I don't like doing it, so I'm not going to do it. You have to learn. You have to learn it because it's your business. But long term, you don't want to be doing it yourself, because you want to put your time into higher value stuff and then let people do it. How about managing PPC at the beginning? Because that's an integral part of launching it, right? So do you suggest somebody who learns how to run their PPC campaign or outsource it?
I still recommend everyone learn the ropes first. In our business, we know how to run the PPC campaigns ourselves. So my encouragement is for you to take some kind of PPC course, whether ours or someone else's, a course that's going to train you up to learn the basics of how to run your own PPC account. And then quickly you can use software, you can hire a virtual assistant to manage that day to day. But there's a lot of value in just kind of learning the ropes yourself. PPC is really key. Nick, 50% of our sales on Amazon are coming from PPC right now. So you've got to get it down, and it's very simple. PPC is incredibly simple advertising platform as compared to some other advertising platforms we have on other websites. So I think it's important just to get in there, learn a little bit about how it works. And then as you start to scale and you see profit with your PPC campaign, you can train and teach other people and use software. So we have a couple of softwares that are great out there. There's many that you can use for PPC, but I do think having a software as you go to help you automate your pay-per-click campaign is important.
Yeah. I thought I was tough, but you're tougher than me. I don't tell people that. What I tell people is, as the business owner, no matter what, they got to know your numbers. And by that, I'm talking about their margins, their bottom line, how their expenses break down and things like that. Even though they may not like accounting, they may not know accounting, they have to learn that enough of it so that they can look at numbers and say, this doesn't make sense, especially about their inventory value, how much inventory they are carrying at a time compared to how much profit they are generating. Because you may have those 30-40% healthy margins, but at $25, you're generating basically $7-8 a sale. And if you're carrying at a time $100,000 plus worth of inventory, you're not going to make enough money fast enough to finance, right? So, and of course, the inventory value is changing all the time. So I say these numbers are key. You have to watch your conversion rates. You have to watch your buybacks. So it just starts to overwhelm. Then I say, well, then you just need to have an idea, but let somebody else stay on top of it. That's what I recommend, because you just get killed in the process. Then you have no life. Everybody's complaining. You start to lose your health, right? So that's why my advice to people in the long run. That is.
Eventually you can't do $25 an hour work or $50 an hour work if your time is worth thousands of dollars an hour on the business. So eventually you do have to start thinking about delegating those aspects of the business, for sure. Absolutely agreed.
Yeah. You put it so nicely. You don't want to do $25 work, right, when you can earn $1,000. So that's great. So tell me about a little bit about some of the peak periods. How does one prepare for those peak periods, like the Prime Day and the shopping season and now post-COVID? So what do you do?
We don't do a lot for Prime Day personally. Like, we don't do anything out of the normal for Prime Day unless we're running some kind of Prime promotion. But for us, Prime Day isn't a big planning session. We're more about Q4. So we literally plan for Q4 year round. So since January, we're planning for the next Q4 during Q4, thinking about how we can prepare. So for us, it just means having enough lead time with our suppliers. We typically like to source about 3 times as much inventory during those months. So we got to be prepared for that cash flow wise. If it means getting access to additional loans or getting our credit card limit raised, those kinds of things, so that we can really have put that in place. The good news is it's June. So I always tell people we speak to at our company, if you're coming in June, you have enough lead time to get a product in place for Q4 this year. But for us, it's as simple as just making sure we've got the cash flow, making sure we're focusing on our most profitable products and getting rid, like the top 80%, the top 20% that are making us the 80% of our revenue, making sure we have those in stock for Q4. And really, with the lead times and supplier delays and things like that, I think sellers have to prepare even more in advance for Q4. I remember, a couple of years ago when you could start thinking about Q4 in August or September and still have a really good Q4. I think today you have to start thinking about it now in spring and Q1 and Q2. Just really thinking about what are my products going to be I'm going to sell for Q4? How do I make sure now that my supplier will have enough lead time for me to get my products in stock? And also, how do I make sure I have about 3 times as much inventory to make sure I don't go out of stock in those last 2 months of the year?
Yeah. And one thing we always did was, obviously the volume goes up during the last quarter, and then a large percentage of those, a considerable percentage becomes a return, and people start returning. And sometimes they're not happy with the product. Sometimes they're not happy with the seller. So they start posting feedback, seller feedback, or product rating. So one of the things that we did, we would want our seller feedback rating to be 97, 98% positive, and on the product rating as high as possible. Could be, now they have reviews and ratings, no later than September. So we would start planning somewhere around August, if our negatives were high, to methodically start getting more seller feedback so that we could push it down by the beginning of the last quarter, so that we would get into the shopping season with a relatively low negative feedback and negative
Yes.
rating on the product, so knowing that they're going to go up.
Yes.
Because what happens is, if you go in with a high negative into the shopping season, they're going to go up further, and then come January, your account will be at risk, possibly get suspended for being too high negatives or whatever. So a lot of people, I'm so surprised to see, they don't even know what their seller feedback is. And
They don't.
that's the first thing that I look at, and I say, no, this is dangerous. Some of them are running at 10%. You can't be running at 10%. So you need to be no more than maybe 3 to 5%.
2 to 5. Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that. So if you could wish one thing for Amazon to change in their policies for sellers, what do you think that would be?
I wish that they would make it a bit easier for a new seller to get started. I think that they're kind of cutting off a lot of potential great entrepreneurs to come in. I think these days, you have to do the video verification call. You have to have all the things set up. So it's a bit discouraging for a new person to come in. There's a bit more work involved, which is a double-sided coin, right? Amazon's got great sellers, but a lot of people just don't even get the opportunity to maybe think that they can get their product on the marketplace. So that would be a great policy. I'd also love to see, less inventory restrictions. The inventory restrictions for new sellers can be kind of limiting when they come in and they can only have 100 units at Amazon or 500 units at Amazon. I remember a day when you could send anything to Amazon and they would store it for you, and you could store a house, So these days you have to be a bit more judicious with your product launches, which can be a bit frustrating for a new person to scale, but it's just something to manage. I mean, we understand Amazon is Amazon, and it's a privilege to be an Amazon seller. And ultimately, we have to play by their rule book. But those are the two main things I think for me, Nick. I would love to see change. Just a little bit of an easier entry for a new person, and also, inventory limits can be a burden on someone who's wanting to come in and scale faster.
Yeah. So actually, let's learn a little bit about you. So tell us about yourself. Where do you live? And, about what your passions are. How do you spend your time when you're not working, if there is such a time?
There's not very much time, to be honest, but I live in Dallas, Texas. Our companies are based here. I became an Amazon seller in 2015. It was my first business I ever started. And I started off pretty small, like a lot of your listeners, I'm sure, just kind of selling things around the house and making a little bit of side income as an Amazon seller, and eventually grew it to a multi-million-dollar company with private label products. Exited one of my brands, built 2 private label products brands on Amazon, in the arts and crafts category and the beauty category. So I went from thousands and thousands of SKUs down to just about 7 private label product SKUs. So that was my journey. And eventually lots of people from Amazon and folks in our industry started reaching out and wanting to be a part of what we were doing in the private label space, just kind of innovating and disrupting products. We were creating completely new products, finding new ways to use the Amazon marketplace to grow on other marketplaces. And so over the years, I just had thousands and thousands of people kind of resonate with me as a female entrepreneur, women entrepreneur on Amazon. So we have basically created this incredible company called Private Label Mastery, and we have tens of thousands of private label products on Amazon that we manage and help our clients to grow. So we are really kind of the Oz behind the scenes, making Amazon work, making products work every day. So it's been incredibly rewarding. And it's also been a lot of fun just to sit back and see like how Amazon has changed over the years and how sellers have had to change to go with it. But we really started to expand, Nick, so much, not just from Amazon, but into other marketplaces, Walmart, QVC, Home Depot. We are really all over the e-commerce, Shopify, but Amazon still is our first place we recommend people go to kind of get their feet wet, to get their hands wet with e-commerce, to learn how it works. It's just really easy to, not easy, but it's simple to get started. So I love mentoring women who are new to e-commerce, men too, but especially women, because I'm one, and I'm one of the few like female private label founders that have grown to this level of success on Amazon. So I really enjoy just introducing people to Amazon. It's life-changing for people to get into this amazing world of e-commerce. It's just it's a lot of fun too.
So where do you think that comes from? Why do you feel? Is it something growing up, nobody helped you? And then so where do you think that comes from?
I just love everything about Amazon, like appeals to me personally. The ability to like work by yourself and not have a really big team. At Private Label Mastery, I've got a really big team and I love them, but Amazon is like a lot easier. So less people, less problems, right? So I just love the idea of like being able to grow something as big or as special as you want to grow it on your own and being able to kind of design that for yourself. And that's what Amazon has provided for me. So, growing up, I didn't have entrepreneurs in my family. I didn't have an example of success. And I found people like me to coach me and mentor me, to teach me, like you, to teach me how to do this, having those kind of examples of like what entrepreneurship can be. So I discovered it, and it's just been something I've really just put a lot of consistency into over the years.
Growing up, you didn't get much help to do the things that you wanted to do. And that's
right.
why this kind of pushed you. This comes back to always childhood, your experience growing up, right? So what I'm hearing is you didn't get the help you wanted, and you just found the Amazon platform as a tool for you to actually deliver to people who had the same needs that you had growing up. Would that be right?
Yeah, I didn't have examples of entrepreneurship. I think most people don't. We're not taught in school or taught by our families necessarily to think for yourselves or to do something different. And so I didn't have those examples of success. And I went on Facebook, went on Instagram, trying to find those methods or ways to make money online. And Amazon just kept coming up. Sell on Amazon, Amazon. And so I was very lucky. I feel very lucky that was my first business, because I feel like it's such a foolproof one.
Yeah. So how do you deal with the not so bright side of running your own business? Because as you know, Amazon will throw you out in a second. They don't even blink. So how do you deal with? So share with us some of the darkest moments you had running your Amazon business, building it.
Gosh, I've had a lot. I've had many times where I never wanted to quit, but I just felt really discouraged, And I think that's what I have seen, Nick, with people who are successful on Amazon, is they are very persistent. They don't give up when Amazon throws them something or something comes up. They just don't quit. And I think that's what's been my secret to success. Some of my darkest moments would be probably when I first started doing private label. My first private label product was bath bombs. That's what my first category of product was. And I was working with a small manufacturer here in the US who was very new to the business. And essentially we broke up our supplier relationship. I didn't know how to have supplier contracts. I didn't know how to negotiate well. And so eventually I was just stuck. One day, went from making $10,000 or $20,000 a month with this product to zero overnight. No cash flow. My credit cards were maxed out. It was a pretty dark time. That was my first foray into private labeling. So things like that.
How did you get out of it?
We didn't have a contract in place. So essentially I didn't move forward with that supplier, went and found a new supplier and had to start over from scratch with that product. So things like that I had to learn.
I mean, emotionally. I mean, how do you survive that?
Well, it's, having a team, having people around me to bounce ideas off of. And I've always had mentors and like friends in the Amazon seller space who have been able to go say, hey, is this normal? Like, what do I do next? And they kind of assure me it's okay. This is what I would do. This is what you should do. I think without that support system, it's difficult to want to continue sometimes. And so I think for me and other Amazon sellers, it's really important just to have like some kind of accountability, have some kind of community. That's what we do at Private Label Mastery. We provide that community and accountability to people because at the end of the day, it's pretty simple, right? Selling products on Amazon. But there's going to be hurdles. And the people that are successful are the people that overcome those hurdles. And they just proceed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, in order to finish the race first you have to finish the race, right?
Yeah. Yes. Not give up. Yeah.
So keep running. This is great. Thank you, Ashley. This is such a great conversation. So, I mean, I like I said, I thought I was tough, but you are tougher than me because you're advocating things that I just tell people, don't bother. But you're so right about having that inner strength. You can't give up. Ultimately, this becomes a test of your character, your leadership, and you just have to lead by example and just keep pushing forward.
That's right. Yeah, just keep going with it. Don't give up. First of all, get started. Get started, and then don't quit in those first 30 to 60 days. That's just the key for an Amazon seller. Understand that entrepreneurship does have challenges, but if you just stick with it and have a game plan, it's really something that can work for almost anybody.
So tell us, how can people reach you? We will obviously put this on our website as well as on YouTube as part of your episode. So tell us how people can reach you, how they can find you, and you have your podcast. Tell us all about it so that people can reach out to you.
Sure. I have a book. It's called $1 Million Ecom Secrets. It's on Amazon. It's 99 cents, but I have a free copy for all of your listeners. If they want to head to www.ashleykinkead.com/welcome, they can download a copy of my book. And it's really just goes into the nitty gritty, Nick, of my Amazon brands, specifically what they are, the names, the photos, how I launched them, kind of my journey, in a nutshell of Amazon. So I wrote that book this year, $1 Million Ecom Secrets. I'd love for your listeners to come and download it, get to meet me a bit. I've also got a podcast called the Private Label Mastery Podcast, which we founded years ago. We now have over 120 episodes. We have tens of thousands of subscribers and listeners who tune into that podcast. Lots of interviews with private label sellers like myself. So if you're wanting to, learn more about this, learn what goes into actually building a private label brand, a product, come check out my podcast. We drop episodes all the time, really, that are educational and inspiring for people to get started. So subscribe to my podcast. You can also head to the website again, www.ashleykinkead.com/welcome. There are some resources for you there. And Private Label Mastery, we provide consulting, services, really everything someone needs to get this business off the ground. So lots of ways to get in touch with me, but I really love to just meet people and share my story, Nick, of how entrepreneurship has been very impactful for me over the years. So thank you for asking that.
Well, and that's exactly what we've done, and people have learned a lot, and they have either confirmed what they were looking to do, or now they know what to do. So yes. Thank you very much, and thank you for being here. And that brings us to the end of another episode, and see you on the next one.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Be sure and subscribe, rate, and review our show. And be sure and share an episode with a friend. And thank you so much for being with us today. We'll see you next week here on Amazon Legends.